Hi, Nicholas here. Welcome to the Akousunesis method. With this composition series, I want you to get involved, and what we'll be doing within the next few lessons from now, we're going to be creating our own song together. So I need you to go grab a keyboard and put either your computer or your tablet in front, because we're going to work out things together. And this is going to happen over a few sessions. So we're going to write a song together, and I would like some participation as in terms of putting some comments, trying things at home, and putting some suggestions in, and we might be able to use your suggestions inside the composition. So get yourself a piano. If you don't have one, then go out and buy one. They're not too expensive, about $800 Australian, you can get a decent one. And then come back, and we're going to write some music together. See you soon. So let's get started. If you get over to my website, the akousunesismethod.com, and just go up to courses, where we got composition up here. So we're on Song Skeleton, but if you haven't seen these series before, you can go watch your first steps, then come to Song Skeleton. And that's what we'll be doing today. So, what's a song skeleton? Well, we're going to be writing something together. So, a song skeleton is a way to start composing where you create a direction for a song, and you can sort of feel where the song's going to go in terms of emotion, in terms of the melody. So, it's a chord progression with a lead melody note at the chord change. Sometimes it's just after the chord change or just before, but it's around the chord change. And we're going to create a piece together. So let's start. Now, I want you to have a quick look at this table here. This is the table of the modes. So, but if you look at the, in the key of C in the center here, these are the modes in order, right, from the darkest to the most brightest. And this is the chord within the key signature, okay? So let's come down here. Now, you can read this for yourself. You can pause the video at any time and just read some of this stuff. I probably recommend you do that like now. Pause the video. Great. Come back. And so you've read a bit. Fantastic. You need to get the most out of these videos. I'm going to take it slowly. And we're going to do things together, right? And so we're going to revise a little bit of what we did in the first lesson, just a little bit. And we're going to get going straight away here. So we're in the key of C, all right? So we're all the white notes, so it's not too tricky, all right? Now, put your hands down as I have them, okay? So you got middle C here, right? So we're just going to go your thumb, your index. Your middle is on the 5, right? There's 1, 5, right? And this pinky, right, it can be up to the 1, or you can bring it down to the major 7th. So we're on the C major chord, right? Now all we're doing, and we're going to do the same thing with the left hand. The left hand, just the pinky on the, right, the 1. Middle on 3, index on 5, thumb on the 7, right? And I just want you just to roll for now. Like, just start with your left finger. You can go slowly and just... No pedal for now. Just get it smooth. And just roll back down. Make sure you lift off your finger. Like that. And now we can try it with the pedal. So this chord it's called C major 7. We've got a major 3rd and a major 7th because it's a tone down from the root, right? And a major 3rd is 2 tones from the lower root. That's the high root, right? So that's the high 1. That's a high 7. It's the highest note, right, which will become our melody, right? The highest note's going to become our melody, and we'll call it. If I say a high, say a 6, it's going to be the 6. Remember the 5th rule? Put your hand down. A 6 is just a tone up, right? So a high 6 means the melody at that point is going to be high. All right, so we're we're just flowing now. We're just getting used to. Now, from the first lesson, what did we do? We started scanning. We weren't too concerned about trying to make chords, right? We just have one chord at the moment, right? And we just want to scan the notes and just have a look at the notes. It's a 1, 3, 5, 7, 1 again, right? And so the notes, and then you can say the notes C, E, G, and the B. But concentrate more on the intervals, because that's what we want to learn, our intervals, right? So we're just going to have a scan. Now what we're going to try to do is we're going to lift our hand up and just move up to the top position and then move our hand back down here, right? Do the same. So one thing with eventually what happens is you develop a muscle memory of where your hand lifts up and comes back down again, right? So you develop that. The more you play, right? The more you practice this, the better you become. To get really good at finding chords and your hands doing this, you get onto the website Chordify. When we do our song analysis, Chordify is a fantastic tool. I'm not sponsored by them, by the way, but I've been using it a long time. And it gets you to recognise chords and gets you moving across chords, and you play to the rhythm of the song, and it brings up a YouTube song. That's a fantastic tool. But before you get there, right, before you do that, you can always just sit at a piano and just let it flow. We're not concentrating to trying to get anything correct, right? Remember, when you're learning a piece of music, right, of any piece of music, you're trying to get something correct, right? You're trying to play that music and get it correct. And that's one thing you can do, right? And you put that aside. That's one thing you can do. And that's a thing we do with the song analysis. We're trying to get the song correct. But in the composition series, it's completely different. We're not trying to get anything correct, right? We're trying to create music for the first time, right? So we don't have to worry about what chord we're going to make, right? We're going to know our chords, right? And but we don't know what's going to come next, right? So all we're doing now is mucking around on the chord C, right? And I want you to scan the notes, lift your hand up first and flow, and then come back. And do the same on the left hand, right? So all we're doing is getting used to, right, where these things are. And then what I want you to do is start on the first lesson, composition. We just got you to play notes within the chord. But what we're going to do with this lesson, right? On the left hand, you're going to stick to the chord, right? But you're going to be a bit flowing now with your right hand. You're going to be able to play any white note with your right hand, right? And you're going to take it slowly and just listen. And the two things we're mainly listening for is a bass note, in this case it's a C, right? And a high note. Right, so that's a major third. And we're looking down and noting, oh, well, that's a major third. Right? So not only are you're creating these memory associations in your head, so you're saying, all right, major third, and then you're just listening to it, right? And you're creating this association. Oh, that's a nice sound. What's that? That's a fourth. That's a second. And then, so the two intervals we're learning to hear, right, is just the bass note and the high note. And that's how you pick any song. To be able to hear a song and play it, you focus on two things, a high melody note and a bass note. If you can work out the bass note and you know the key the song's in, you can work out the chords even, right? But here we're not trying to work anything out. Remember, we're in a composition mode at the moment that we're playing. So there's no error, there's no mistakes. You can't make a mistake, right? You're just mucking around. All right, so we're going to write a song. And we're going to pick a chord. Now, so we can look at this chart here and we can say, okay, if we've got the darkest is a Locrian, right? So when you play from B to B is the Locrian. So if you see the note, the letter here, right, B, okay, or E or A, any of these letters, you just start on that letter. So there's D, right? And just play from D to D, and you'll hear the mode. And then on the left hand, play the chord D minor 7. Now, all the chords are easy. All you have to do for each chord, for instance, C down here, see my hand on the left and the right. Right? Doesn't matter which note you're playing, as long, it doesn't even have to be in that order, right? You can drop a note, right? But that's the C chord, starts on C. Now let's have a look at the D minor chord. We just slide up. That's all we're doing. Look at that, just sliding up. And if you go back to the first lesson, right? If you're on C, for instance, C is 2 chords, it's stacked together. C minor 7 has got an E minor in it. So you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone and learn 2 chords at once, right? By realising, we call that chord stacking, right? You can just stack chords right on top of each other and keep on going, right? Eventually it comes back together. So I'm on D minor over here, and on C major 7 and D minor has covered every single note. But so that's how we find our chords, and we just slide up. And they're every 7th chord. So the note it's starting on, so if that's starting on F, right, we come here, it's an F major 7th chord, right? It's the 4th chord, right? And you can hear that major 7th sound too. It's a high 7 there. It's a tone down, right? If you're not sure how to find your intervals quickly, I've got lessons like 16, 17, or 17 and 18 lessons, help you find your intervals really quickly. So, and we want to hear them now, you know. All right, so we're going to come here and pick something, all right? Now, I want to start sad because I'm a sad person, and so we're going to start sad. But I don't want to start really dark, so I'm going to start on Aeolian mode, all right? So I'm going to start with A minor. We're in the key of C, right? So this is all the chords in the key of C. So I'm going to start with A minor 7. So the first thing we're going to do is put our hands on A minor 7 and just roll it again. So we're just rolling up and down, just listening for it. It's quite sad, right? So playing the chords straight like that is one thing. We get to hear the sound and we look at the intervals. Okay, we're A minor. It's a minor 3rd here. Right? We got a 5th and we got a minor 7th. So what gives it the character, right? So A is the root note of the chord, and then the character is a minor 7th character, which has a minor 3rd. That's the bread and butter character, the 3rd, right? So that's your bread and butter, minor 3rd. And then the next one is a 7th, right? So, and the 7th is also sort of a bread and butter character. It's very common, right? Not as strong as the 3rd, but we have a minor 7th here, right? So if the 3rd is your butter, your 7th is your jam on top, right? Adds that sweetness. So we're picking A minor, right? Now, so we've got the chord. So we'll come down here, right? I'm going to show you some tricks composers use, and I've got them listed in my book. And they're here. This is only a few of them. I've got a whole list of these. And we're just going to look at today at 3M. I'll tell you what that means. Well, you can see 3, the chord 3. Now, you might notice, if you're astute, you might notice that I don't use lowercase in my method for the 3. Right? We know the 3 is a minor 7th chord, but I don't use lowercase. I keep them all capital. There's a reason I do that, and this is the reason here. The first reason is you should know what a 2nd and a 3rd is a minor and the 6th are minor 7th chords. You should know that. You don't need to be reminded. And we can use this now, information. If we keep it like this, we can go, okay, if this is a composer's trick, what are we doing here? Well, we know the 3rd. See, the 3rd is 1, 2, 3 is E minor, right? I know we're starting on A minor, but I'm just showing you a trick here. E minor, right? There's E minor. It's normally a minor 7th chord, right? But what we're saying here, if we've got a new character, this is the character. So this is going to replace the character of the default. And it's just saying turn it major. All right, so if I've got E minor, let's just make it major. Okay, and that sort of works quite well, right? It's a chromatic move on the third, right? It's a common move. But the reason why that's good is because if you see that's G sharp, the note G sharp. If we play the A minor mode, so the Aeolian mode, let's play the Aeolian mode and have a look. Okay, Aeolian mode. So, from music theory, what a harmonic minor is what? We take the seventh, right, which is a minor seventh, right, in the Aeolian mode, Aeolian minor seventh, right, and we sharpen the seventh, right. So it's a sharp minor seventh, right, up there. We sharpen that. So now, have you noticed now, right? G is just playing G sharp. It's a major seventh now, right? This is a harmonic minor. It's called a harmonic minor, right? Well, if we want to write a song, right, and we think of, say, we're going to write it in the key of A minor, but I don't want you to think of a key of A minor because it's just confusing. You don't need to think of minor keys because we're going to think of major keys. It's in the key of C, but we're in a mode called the Aeolian mode, right? And the Aeolian mode is the key of A minor. I don't know why they call it a key, but that's no, I don't know why. If anyone can explain that to me, write it in the comments. I've never heard a good explanation because then any of the modes could be a key. You could have 1,000 keys. Anyway, it's my little gripe. So all you got to know is we're playing all the white notes, right? And to come out of key, occasionally, we don't have to do it all the time. We can stay in the key of C. If we want to come out of key, right, we're going to press G sharp, right? That's it. So we can play anything we want. We can play G now. And then we're going to add, come out of key. At that point, we're going to come out of key, right? So it happens 3M now. You can just remember 3M. And there's a reason why it sounds good, and the reason is it's because it's a harmonic minor, right? There's also 2M, and there's also 6M, right? So any of the minors, right, you can make a major. You can turn it major. So a 2M, right, would be the D minor would be a 2. We're in the key of C, D minor. Let's make that a 2M would just be take the minor third into a major, turn it into a major triad. Right? Now would have F sharp and would have G sharp. Well, a 2M, if you take a 2M and a 3M and apply those together, 2M and 3M, and then we'll play A, you actually now have the melodic minor scale, right? So these little things you can remember quite easily, and if you have a list of them, you can bring them in your song anytime. You could stay in the key of C, or you can add these little tricks, and there's a lot of them too, right? And I've picked these out of just playing a lot of songs, a lot of pop songs, or any. It doesn't have to be pop songs, but you find that pop songs do these little tricks all the time. And I've just written a list in my book. But today we're just going to have a 3M, right? That's all we're doing. The 3M, which is just adding, we're in the key of C, it's adding G sharp. But not all the time. We can keep it to the white notes, and then we can move to, so E is that extra chord. Okay, that was long-winded. Now you're still at your piano? All right, we're going to go A minor. Now we've got to pick a melody note, right? And we're going to listen. How sad do we want to be? Well, so A minor here, and we're on. So with your left hand, you can just roll like that. So I've got a pinky on the 1. I've got the index on the 5, right? So I've got a big stretch there, and I've got a thumb back on the 1. And let's listen to the minor third. So that's the high -3, right? On the A minor. All right. What about a 2? Oh, that's pretty sad. That's probably one of the saddest sounds. move my chair. Ugh. So I'm going to start. I'm just going to pick it. Now, we're writing a song, right? And we're going to do this over several videos. And we're going to add words too. So it's going to build. And I don't know how this song is going to end up. And if you want to get involved and try these at home, and then if you come up with your own melody intervals, put them in the comments. And I could try them out. And we could say, okay, if I like it, I'll use it. If I don't, I won't. And I'll say, well, I can give you a credit too, if you like. So I'll put you in the comments or mention you, right? If I use your thing. So all right. So we got a 2, a minor 2. Let's start there. All right. Now where can we go from here? Right. All right. Well, I'm not going to be always just looking at this. A lot of the times I'll just go by my ear and how it feels. But I know that if I go to C, I know it's pretty bright, right? It's bright. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to sound bright because there's more than just chords that make something bright and dark. It's not just the chord. It's a lot of other things, you know. It's the rhythm of how you play it. It's the lead melody note. So there's a few things involved. But that's pretty sad, right, to start. Now, another common trick that composers do will be to hang on. It's called an anchor note. Well, I call it an anchor note. I don't know what the composers call it, but that's what they do. They anchor at a point, right, and then they move the chord progression and anchor that note. Sometimes it's one note. Sometimes it's a little couple notes, right, and they come back to it because what happens is your ears get familiar with that anchor point, and you can come back to it. You can either stay there for a progression of chords or come back to it, like move on and then come back to that anchor point. Pop songs do this all the time. It's what makes them popular because it's your ear remembering, getting familiar. It's repeating a theme a few times in the song and you're getting familiar with that theme. I think they overdo it in some pop songs. But all right, so let's have a go. So we're just going to, but I'm going to stick to that note here. So the 2 on the A minor, right? So now we're going to move to C. And I'm going to put that, see that 7, right? So that major 7, I'm putting in the middle, right? It's not a high 7. It's not a low 7, right? It could be a low 7 at some stage. It could be a high 7 at some stage. But I'm just going to leave that 7 in there, right? It's always nice to add in 7ths when you're composing, just to have a listen, just to hear how they can fit into your piece. You don't have to use them. Usually if a 7th is too close, well, this is a high 7, by the way. This is a high 7, but we've also got the low 7. So it's basically an octave there, okay? Because we've got the high 7 there. But I'm also going to put it here. All right, so we've got a second there. Now, have you noticed this? Well, you probably haven't. I'm about to explain it. That 7 I've put in the middle, right? See, I've hit the 7th there, the high 7, right? So we're on the 2. Now, I haven't hit it on the bass at the moment, right? But I've hit the high 7 there. And now I'm playing the 7 a bit later. So in your memory, right, you've heard that already, the 7th. And now I'm coming to put in that other. I'm reinforcing that melody with that 7th a bit later in time. And you just sort of, and you start to get really, you know, you're connected. You get connected to the piece. So, all right. So that's the C. So we went from, and then we're going to go to the 7. So that's all we have so far. Now you can try this at home too, right? You can just try, you might like to start up here. So everything you choose is going to give you a different feel, right? So the main thing is the bass note, and the first is the high note, and then you have notes that fill out the harmony, right? Which is your left-hand harmony. So we have melodic rhythm, we have the harmonic or the left-hand rhythm, right? So we have the harmonic rhythm, right? So we're harmonizing with the piece, and we got melodic rhythm, and we're bringing them together, right? So now we're going very slow. It's a slow piece, you know. So you can't learn if you're playing fast, right? You've got to take it slow so you can hear. So and what you do is you start to massage what you've got so far. And you can try this at home. And if you come up with any other suggestions other than 2 or 7, put them in the comments. And because I haven't got anyone really talking to me. So if you do want to talk, put them in the comments and give it a try. I hope you got your brand new keyboard and give it a try. Let's move on and let's see what else we can do, okay? So you can pause this video and just read some of this and then come back. So this is all on my website, and it might make more sense to you when you come back to the video again, right? So you can just pause, or you could just go and read this whole thing before you see the video. So I've got the link of the video up the top here, so you can just come here, read it, and then click the song skeleton, so then you get an idea. And so that might be more beneficial to do it like that. Okay, so we're going to now, we're going to add another chord. Okay, so let's have a look. So we got that 2 now, 7. And what I'm going to do now with this, I'm going to leave it on the same note. So we're going to do the same thing. We're anchoring to the 1 point, right? But see, that's a -5. Fifth rule for the F is up here, the C, right? There's the 5. So that's a -5, right? But I'm going to resolve that down to, so let's have a go again. No, we're resolving it down to the 3, not the 4. Sorry, let's do that again. So it's the 2nd here, right? Now we're on the 7th. Now we're going to stay on the same note, which will be the F on the -5. And we're going to come probably down fast. Now, so the song skeleton is the -5, but at any time you can add other intervals there. If you come up with something you think is going to be good, well, I've resolved this straight down to a 3. So I might just write that there, right? So any ideas? We're developing a melody, right? We don't have words, but we're going to actually start to add words. And then what happens is we start to massage these. We might change them to match words. We might add another interval to match a syllable in a word. Right? So then we're going to have fun with words. You know, we're going to have fun with the melody and words, and they work together. So if you can get them working together, that it becomes it's very flexible, because you can change a word. Because sometimes you're writing a song and you've got the words already. Then you've got to try to create lyrics that matches all the a melody that matches the words. But if you're doing it together, you can do it either way. I've done it both ways. Or I might have had words first, and then I come up with a melody, or I might have a melody first, or I do it together. I like doing it together because it's really flexible. But you can always change. You know, if you've got your words, you can always change the words, right? If you've got a melody, you can always change your melodies to bring them together. But you usually have to change something, because, if you're doing it like that. All right, so we're not going to do words today, right? We're going to do it in another lesson. Maybe the next lesson we could start to think about introducing some words. I think we might be able to do that. All right, so we put the 3 there just as a reminder, to remind ourselves, well, that sounds okay. We're on the -5, so it's a -5. Now, let's have a look. Let's quickly have a look at C and F in that table. Well, F is the brightest chord, but it doesn't sound too bright, does it? It sounds sad. But because it's not just the chord that makes things bright, it's a few other factors, as I said earlier. But knowing that we are on the Lydian, we can really now stay in there and lift it out. We can lift it out of the sadness, and because we've already got help because we're already in F, right? So we're going to do that. So we don't want to stay sad for too long, and So what I did there, so we're sad there, right, on the F. And then now we can, from going from the F to the C on 5 is pretty happy, right? So we're up here on the Ionian, right? So it's almost the second happiest. And then we're back on the F again, but this time, you see, instead of the -5, we've got the 1. So that's quite happy. Okay. So then, okay, so where we're going to go from there, right? So I want you to take this progression, right? And this is where we're going to talk about this E, right? We've already discussed about the 3M, right? I've already told you that. Now the formula is, I just want to, I'm going to talk about, if you look at, here's the Aeolian formula, right? And I'll play it again for you. So it's a 1, 2, -3, okay? 4, 5, +5, 7 and 1. Now why do I say +5 and not flat 6? Because theoretically speaking, and if you want to be theoretically correct, it is a flat 6, not a +5. I've had people ask, why do you put +5 rather than flat 6? And I'll tell you exactly why right now. Or shall I wait to the end of the video? Because I'll wait to the end of the video and I'll just explain that, why I do that. But I've actually written it here. You could just go read this. But I'll explain it. But what we're going to do is we're going to move now from the 1. So we're on the 5. And that E now, it gives you a pause. It's sort of like, and now we can continue again, but we're going to stop the melody there. So, and that 3 high on the E, that's a major third, right? It doesn't have to be a 3 high, it could be the 5 high. And it could be, or even fight down here. So we were up here, right, with the F, and we might come down, right? So when you're doing your own here, okay, because if you want to show me some of your own, right, and you want to say I'm on F1, okay, and you want to say, show me that, oh, well, maybe I want to put a E5 down here. Remember my arrows going up and down? Because I don't know what your melody is, because I haven't heard it, right? Put an arrow to tell me the direction, just like our finger placement exercises. If you put the direction arrows, I'll know which way to go on your melody. Now, normally I don't have arrows because we're listening. We don't need that prompt because we can hear it, right? But because if you're going to show me a melody, and I'm not going to want you to create notation, although you could show me a notation if you want, but just put an arrow, it's easier. So, and then I can muck around with that to see if I like it, and we could maybe add it or not. So, all right, so we're going to end this, but I'm going to just talk a little bit about why I use +5, and I use it all the time. Now, this is a really good example to illustrate this. We're writing a song and we're in the key of C, right? Okay, so you're already focused on the key of C, and so it's just all the white notes, right? So if we're in A minor now, right, and we know that we want to add the harmonic minor, we're going to know, right, we're just going to add the G sharp, right? That's all we're going to do, right? And so we just play the white notes. Now, if we're looking down here, can you see the 5 and the +5, which is also a flat 6? Now, we're not going to... The idea of having a +5 is it's designed for playing in real time. We want to be able to locate notes quickly in real time, right? So by putting a +5, we're already on the white notes and we don't have to think about a 6 at all. A 6 is a black note, right? We don't have to think of a 6 and then say, oh, flatten a 6, you know? And so that's why I would put a +5 there, because it's the easiest way to get to the note. And the only note you have to remember, right, is the major 7th, that one there, which, remember, if you've got a high A, where are we here, sorry, here, high A, it's the black note up there, right? So we don't have to think of the 6, there's the 6 on the A, right, to flatten it. So that's the reason I've always used +5 and never flat 6, because it's easier in real-time playing. And in my book, you see that a lot too. You see a +5 where theoretically it should be maybe a -6 or flat 6. But I put both sometimes in my book. I'll put a flat 6, but just to get you, aware of that. Anyway, so that's it. We're going to leave it for now with this. This is the second composition video. So you can use the composition 1 to just I'll just quickly go back to that, because if you're here and if you just come here for the first time, right? So I got the PDF here. So you just go back and so this is a good this is improvising, going back and forth between the two chords. So if we're on C, we just roll and then we just lift our fingers to get to E minor and back to C. So go watch that video. In that video, I kept on saying D minor when I was meant to say E minor. I was playing D minor rather than C minor. But the principle's the same, right? But by doing it in this order, you're killing two birds with one stone. You're playing C, and you're just lifting, and now you're on E minor. So you're playing C major 7th, and now you're E minor, right? Because E minor is a stacked chord on top of the C major 7 chord, right? So by learning your chords this way, you're killing two birds with one stone, right? E minor and G7. If you have E minor 7, you've got a G major triad on top of that. They're stacked chords. And G7, you've got a B diminished. There's the B diminished, right? So you're stacking on top of each other. All right. Now, also technically, that little 0 should have a 7 there. I don't particularly like that type of. It's a bit confusing, but there's a 7, right? So that should be actually G7 should be dim. It should be DIM. Oh well, I've got it there anyway. DIM. Right. So I'm probably not going to fix that up. So symbols are a pain in the butt. They can be a pain in the butt because there's so many different symbols, and especially if they're dim. But that means that should be a 7th, and that means playing right up to here with a -7th as well, right? Anyway, but we're not, because we've got our G, and we're just playing the triad, B diminished triad. So it should technically should have been that. Anyway, just nitpicking. That's it. You'll learn how to create a song. I didn't update this for the next thing. All right, so the next one we're actually going to put some words in our song skeleton, and we'll continue it. We'll continue our song skeleton and put some words in. So, all right, that's it, and I'll see you in the next composition video. We'll continue. Bye.